Hello, my sexy muffins, and sorry for the random video. I thought it would be time to talk about schizophrenia and my schizophrenia and how I've dealt with it over the years in particular. Now, this video is going to be very disorganized, and there will be mentions of severe mental illness, maybe some self harming stuff, and life ending stuff. So, trigger warnings obvious here for that and such. And be cautious when you watch this video. Now let's get on to business. So I've had schizophrenia since I was 13 years old. Well, I've had it longer probably, but I was diagnosed at 13, which is actually very rare. So people are saying, well, 13-year-olds don't get diagnosed. Yes, I know for the typical part, 13-year-olds don't get diagnosed schizophrenic like ever, almost ever. But in my case, it did. And it all started when I did my first unaliving attempts. And it came out a few months later with therapy and stuff that I was having voices, auditorial hallucinations, and visual hallucinations as well. The auditorial hallucinations would tell me to unalive myself and to hurt and harm others, along with various other things I can't get into because of personal matters. And this went on for months. Of course, I'm 13. I don't want to be taking psych meds and talking about like voices in my head. So I was in and out for like the next 3 years, in and out of inpatient over and over and over, and just kept trying to unalive myself. The first unalive attempt was actually very, very serious. I took like 27 Xanax or something like that. I can't remember what milligrams they were. Took 27 of those, passed out on the couch. From what I remember, my older sister came. I was choking on my vomit at this point. She gave me mouth to mouth because she was certified, thank God. And then an ambulance wasn't brought. I don't think the first time I did go in an ambulance. Eventually, I will get there. But I was brought into the car, like being more or less dragged because my feet wouldn't work because I was so drugged out of my mind. And then I went to the ER where I was first put into emergency care at one of the hospitals downtown. There's two hospitals. One of them has inpatient for psych stuff, the other does not. So there you go. Not giving away any locations or anything. So I was put into inpatient, not in. Sorry, skip. So I was given a tube down my throat. First, they tried to have me drink the charcoal shake, and for those who have done an unalive attempt and had to have the charcoal shake, you know why it's called a charcoal shake. It looks and tastes like charcoal, but it gets everything up. So I was sipping on that repeatedly, kept saying no to it. Eventually I rejected it completely and had to have a tube to put down my throat and neck. Before this, my heart did stop momentarily and they had to shock me, which I don't remember myself because I was so out of it, so I don't remember. But I did have slight burning on my chest after the fact. It was very light, but it was still very terrifying. Anyways, we continue, and I'm half in and half out of it at this point. They decide that I need to be put into inpatient because this was a very serious attempt, obviously. So they transferred me over to the other hospital and they said, we can't have you take her, but yourself, you're going to have an ambulance transferred to the other hospital. That's what they did. What I do remember very vividly was that the ambulance person in the background was so cute. And I think I said that out loud and I am so embarrassed. So embarrassed to this day. Oh my God. So that was that. And I got put inpatient, ended up throwing up because of the charcoal shake, but it was good because it got out of my system. The other thing is, I remember them going in and out repeatedly to check my blood pressure and check that my heart was still pumping and everything and working and I wasn't passing out, so I wouldn't have to be in the ER itself. They checked like every 30 minutes and I was in and out of consciousness every time they did it, drawing my blood to make sure I wasn't like getting poisoned or anything and various other things. So that was that. If you want a full thing of my mental health journey with inpatients and stuff, I can do a video on that. But right now, we're going to focus on schizophrenia. So after being put into outpatient, I was figured out that I was schizophrenic, and I am still schizophrenic, obviously. But that's the diagnose. That's the one diagnose that stayed with me from point A all the way to the point I am now, and has not changed at all. Now, what does that entail for me? Visual and auditory hallucinations and a poo ton of paranoia. Oh my god, my paranoia is ridiculous and it makes me so freaking aggressive. Like you would not believe. And since I also have bipolar, which is a whole nother video in itself, later on, because of that, I ended up having the symptoms as well, which made me super manic at times. Love that, but also super low and depressive and stuff. And it was a roller coaster of emotions with my schizophrenia, making me paranoid, and the symptoms with bipolar that did not help. So, but anyways, it made me super paranoid but I was in and off on like Respradol, a few other medications. Respradol worked for a long time, but then eventually stopped working because I kept taking it for like 3 years straight and had to keep up in the dose. And then they're like, okay, we cannot up the dose anymore. So I had to get off it, get on a few other ones that didn't work, and ended up inpatient again. But then I found the miracle drug. And I'm not saying it's a miracle for everyone, but it was a miracle for me. It's Invega. And I first started on the oral medication, which worked great. And then I was down at inpatient, well, not inpatient, outpatient program that had help with mental health services. And they suggested, this is when I'm 18, that I get the shot. The shot was fabulous. I'm still on it today. Fabulous. Oh my God. You would not believe how much it helps my schizophrenia. Oh my goodness. I cannot. If if you have trouble taking your medicine for schizophrenia and you need something, try the shot, but try it first orally if the Invega works for you, because oh my god, the Invega helped me so much. I also have an add-on now, just recently an add-on of Invega, because if I take too much Invega in the shot, I do have points where I black out, aka lose time, possibly dissociate. I don't know if that's 100% fact, but if it's too low, it doesn't work either. So I'm right on the right dose right now, and my latest doctor, won't say his name, has me on an aura pill for the last week of the month that helps me, edge out so I don't freak out, because my paranoia is the first thing that comes back. And oh my God, it is the freaking worst. My paranoia makes me think everyone's out to get me. And this is a way I can tell that my paranoia is starting to creep up. I start to think that people can read my mind. Like, oh my God, they're probably like when I'm thinking about something dirty, like with Stryker from Hell of a Boss and having adult fun time with him in my head because I'm bored and something. I'm like, oh shoot, my mom can hear and I'm like, no, she cannot hear your thoughts. That's bull heck. And that's how I can tell the paranoia is getting up, because I unrationally and unironically think people can read my mind. It's ridiculous. So that's basically how it is. A lot of auditory and visual hallucinations and are the main symptoms of mine, but the paranoia is the worst. And the paranoia creates the aggression, because in my mind, I believe everyone's out to get me and everything's a personal attack. Like someone could say, hey, your shirt smells a little dirty because you just worked out. I will take it like a nuclear bomb being dropped off and tear that person a new butthole and make them cry. I am horrible when I'm paranoid and off my meds, and I own up to that. Because after the fact I realized, God, you were a fucking beep. The bee with itch. But anyways, that's basically it for me. I was, of course, on a time when I was 13 to 15 to 18, not taking my meds as I was supposed to either. I know, horrible thing to do, and I do not suggest you do that. But I was 13, 15, 18. I didn't want to be taking a handful of pills at 13 to 15, especially because I was a fucking, excuse my language, I was a freaking kid. I was a kid, and I had to take a handful of psychotic medication. Like it was psychiatric, not psychotic. But anyways, it was ridiculous. It was freaking ridiculous. And that is why we need more normalization of getting treated for mental health, because I even had sometimes when I was bullied that I was itsy bitsy skitsy, which is horrible. I legit had acted out in class, losing my poo because of mental illness, and was bullied because of it being called crazy, which I'm not crazy. I'm mentally ill and have a mental illness. And it's rough. It's rough. And I do not wish schizophrenia on my worst enemy. I don't even wish it on P words or zoophiles. I do not, I do not wish this mental illness on anyone, except for maybe Hitler. He deserves it, but that might have made him more crazy. Anyways, it is a terrible disease, and to have it since childhood, I'm now stronger. I'm now able to manage it and to understand that it is a mental illness. And maybe having it early helped me not to make mistakes I did as a kid, as an adult, so I didn't end up in jail or anything. But that is a whole nother issue. Anyways, I hope that you all enjoyed this. And if you want to talk about other mental illnesses, I have bipolar, DID, uh, anxiety, OCD, chronic depression, seasonal depression, etc. I can talk about them because I want to be more open about mental illness and make it so that you all know that if you have a mental illness, you are okay and you will be okay. Anyways, I hope that you all enjoyed. Happy end of Pride Month because it's the 29th or 28th. I think it's the 29th or 30th, maybe. And stay sexy on my sexy muffins. Bye bye.